Hi, I'm Joyce, the Energy Lady. New conversation every week. It seems to be that whatever the focus is on the week with clients, then that tends to be my conversation. And this week's conversation about what is real. What's real, what's not real. You know, we pretty much live in illusions. Most everybody does. Because what we interpret as real is what we want to be real. And so if you're looking at an orange and you want that to be an apple, then you can convince yourself that's going to taste like an apple. I know that sounds crazy, but you can. So our illusions are our way of convincing ourselves that we're right and that what we think and the way we see things is the right way and the real way. My husband and I had the most interesting experience recently. We went to our cabin in Greer, Arizona. So there is no time zone change, okay? I preface it with that. And while we were there, we got there, so we reset the clocks to the time in our phone. And then the last day that we were there, we were leaving. My husband said he set his alarm for 6:30 in the morning. It went off. We both got up. We started packing up. And they looked at my phone. I said, Steve, my phone says it's 5:45. I said, that's a pretty tricky way you had of getting me up at 5:30. He said, no, I set my alarm for 6:30. And then he looked at his phone. He goes, my phone says it's 6:45. I said, well, isn't that interesting? We're not in a time zone change at all. But his phone was an hour ahead of mine. And then I looked at the clock that I had set my clock to the day before, and it was set up at the same time as my phone. And then as soon as we left the cabin, then all of a sudden my phone started matching his time. We really had no clue what was the real time. We didn't know. We didn't know if we were an hour ahead or an hour behind. It was an experience of timelessness, but also an experience of the illusion of time. The illusion that we know what time it is because our phone tells us what time it is. And our phones we did not connect with what the real time was until we got almost an hour away from our home. It's about a 4-hour trip. About an hour away from our home is when our phones were completely synced as well. And we got some information on at a restaurant from somebody else and what time it was. And I started just asking, what's real? Who has the real time? Who really knows what the real time is? And so it was definitely an interesting experience and a way of seeing things in your perspective. Because when you look at something and you interpret what is happening, I'm going to use an example again. If you look at somebody who is upset, they seem obviously upset. Your interpretation of them is that person is upset. They're angry about something. They're not happy. It is possible that that person is not upset. They are not angry. But your interpretation of their face, their actions, their responses, your interpretation tells you that they're upset and angry. So every single person who makes an interpretation of any given situation, it is their own illusion, is not the truth. Very seldom are we in the truth. Most of the time, we are in the lies and the stories that we make up about what we think is happening and about our interpretation of what is happening. So if you want to know what's truth, quit lying to yourself. Name things in the exact moment. Here's what's happening in this exact moment. With our time thing, we just simply said, we don't know. We don't know what time it is. Neither one of us is right. Neither one of us is wrong. That was a good one. And we had no clue. And we just said, we'll just shift into timelessness, drive home, get home when we get home. Who knows? And so it's definitely, definitely an opportunity to say, okay, what's real, what's not real? And good luck with that. If you want to have this conversation with me, please book a consultation with me. See you later.